What's next for the Mentalics? What's next for Brother Day and his fiancée, Sareth? And what happens to Polly and Constance? Welcome back. My name's Sean. This is Sean's Take. And today my take's on Foundation, Season 2, Episode 7, entitled A Necessary Death. Let's get into it. And this is your spoiler warning. From here on out, you either don't mind if I spoil it or you've already seen the show. Also, I'll be using some video clips from the show to illustrate points that I'm making, and that's all covered under the fair use provision of the Copyright Act of 1976. Let's get on with it. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, and I have one pretty big idea. Well, it's actually the same idea in two different places at the end. Stick around. I haven't heard anybody else talking about it, so I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. This episode starts. We see Polly and Constant being held by Brother Day. Polly has a pretty good line. His life hasn't quite worked out the way he hoped. And he says, I've waited a century to serve him, and I fucked it up in a week. Because all he did was show up on Trantor, go out drinking, and got arrested. So Brother Day, in realizing that the Foundation has become a bit of a religion, they're really still there, and they don't have any information on them yet. Demerzel wonders if maybe he should postpone his engagement. And there's a moment between the two of them, and then Brother Day realigns their relationship, letting Demerzel know there'll always be a place for her in his house, caring for his children, who will in fact be Empire. And Demerzel seems a little put off by that. She may not want an empress and children to be around. We see Sareth watching her speech when she was introduced as the fiancée to the masses. And she's getting a kick out of seeing Brother Day's lockjaw reaction to it. And then, of course, Demerzel shows up. And Demerzel shows up to take her for her fertility screening, for lack of a better term. Sareth admits that she knows Demerzel is a robot, which is brave on her part. And they have a conversation, and they go and they have the well-attended gynecological visit. And Sareth maintains her sense of humor and thanks all of the doctors for their interest in her private parts. And she does stop them from harvesting any eggs for fertilization because she's not married yet, and they're not his yet. We also have a conversation between Demerzel and Sareth, where Demerzel admits that she knows that Sareth believes Brother Day had something to do with the death of her family. And if she's plotting any sort of revenge, she should think about the precision with which her family was killed. The kind of precision that Demerzel has in her job. Pretty much admitting that she's the one that killed her family. So back with the Mentalics and Gaal and Salvor. Salvor thinks there's something wrong for a place that's supposed to be very open and sharing. Everybody is closed to her. She can't tell anything. And when she's talking to the guy that impersonated her boyfriend, she can't read him at all. And that's, she's not used to that. And she does catch him looking at the one fishing boat, which upon further investigation has had its nav erased. Why would you erase the navigation for a fishing trip? We do see their breakfast being prepared, which are mollusks, which are harvested alive and thrown into boiling water. and both Gaal and Salvor react. They can feel the pain of the mollusks being thrown into boiling water. And that's new for both of them. Tellum explains that we don't shy away from the pain we cause, which is an odd thing. It's one thing to acknowledge that you're causing pain, but to actually seek out experiencing it is a little far, I think. But I find it interesting that Salvor can't read anybody, but now she can read the mollusks. Why is it every time I record one of these for you, I have one word that I keep tripping over? And I got Mentalics right this time, and now I can't say mollusks. Life's hard. Anyway, moving on. We do see Hobor Mallow with the home swarm of spacers. I did accidentally refer to them by their actual species name, and I think that has yet to be revealed. I read that. I thought it was in a episode description, but it must not have been. Sorry for that. So spacers, the swarm, and the Foundation has learned to make the obelisks, the mineral that the spacers need, that Foundation uses as leverage. So he offers them the deal, and she very quickly declines, and we find out that the spacers can communicate, the swarm can communicate with each other over great distances. And so the spacer that is navigating General Rios's ship gets the word that the ship they're looking for is with Hobor Mallow. They're both in custody, and the home swarm is coming to us. So they get there, and we find out that that spacer that's navigating for General Rios is the daughter of the center spacer, the leader of the spacers. And she just wanted to see her daughter. She informs Rios of the offer from the Foundation. There's a fight. Hobor Mallow uses Becky as a secret weapon to effect his escape without doing a play-by-play. So good for him. He escaped. I like Hobor Mallow. They haven't given him enough to do yet, but maybe that's coming. So Bel Rios reports to Empire that the Foundation tried to recruit the spacers, that the spacers said no, but the fact that they would even try is sort of the point. Bel Rios asks for his orders, and Day just turns off the communication, causing a little friction, and Bel and his husband, Galwin, talk about how much better it would be if there was a different Brother Day. But Bel Rios says they'll just decant another one, give them all the same memories, we'll be back in the same spot. Galwin says, what if we just keep killing the clones until they run out of clones? So that's interesting. So there's trouble brewing from the Foundation. There's trouble brewing from within this military piece of Bel Rios. And maybe from the spacers, even though they didn't have the courage this time. There is a nice shot of Brother Day sitting alone in that garden, and he's just sitting thinking. And it's nice to see him just contemplate. We don't know what he's contemplating, but he's just contemplating something. So it's not all action and reaction with him, which is good. And Sereth comes, and he has her sit, and she maneuvers the conversation about her family, and basically says that she knows that he either did it or gave the order, and knows who did it. To which he responds, the only thing you have to be is grateful, because you're only here by my grace. So basically she said, I know you killed my family. And he said, yeah, I'll kill you too. There's plenty of pretty women in this galaxy. So Sereth, pretty bold now. We're really getting into the gears advancing in this season. Sereth approaches Brother Dawn, whom she has had conversations with before, and they share a connection, although she is most likely playing him. But she's playing him well. And she gives him the device that will cause his vasectomy, for lack of a better word, to be reversed. So that then they can use him instead of Brother Day, because she won't carry that monster's child. Brother Dawn understands that if they're caught, they're dead. But she's persuasive. And so we have the beginning of a, as she calls it, bloodless coup. So Brother Day has Polly and Brother Constant brought to him, and Polly tries to continue their mission on open diplomatic relations, and Brother Day is just toying with, and Polly gives him an atomic ashtray. I don't know what that would be. We didn't even get a good look at it, but an atomic one. It's an ashtray, but it's atomic. And Brother Day realizes that Constant has something to say. And so we stop Polly. He asks Constant to speak. Say what you have to say. And then we see Harry's move. And Harry projects himself out of Brother Constant and speaks directly to Brother Day, which is infuriating to the brothers Cleon Empire, which is interesting. And then when Day's hurt enough, the guards use their shields with an electrical thing to zap Brother Constant. And luckily, Brother Constant is not killed, and they're taken away again. But Brother Day is unhappy, to say the least. So back on with the Mentalics, we have now we're going to cover the end of this and some of the things I'm thinking. Gaal finds Salvor reading the nav of that boat and says, "Don't pull at the threads. This is not a time to pull at the threads." So Salvor agrees with Gaal, and later Salvor goes back by herself and reloads the cache from the computer and takes that boat back to wherever it was trying to hide. And she finds Harry dead in the water. Tellum Bond shows up with a helper that we haven't seen before and says, "Salvor, you shouldn't have pulled at these threads." And I found that interesting that she used the exact same turn of phrase that Gaal had used. As Tellum explains that they can't have the sanctuary polluted, we see the helper with her shed a tear. And then Tellum uses her power to snap the neck of Salvor Hardin, and Salvor Hardin dies. And we see her in the water, dead with Harry. Now, the fact that Gaal and Tellum use that same turn of phrase is important. Writers don't do that by accident. And I think that answer is that wasn't Gaal. That was Tellum using an illusion. And when Tellum Bond comes and finds Salvor with Harry, I think the helper with her that cries is Gaal under an illusion. And she watches her daughter's death. And I think that's the title of the show. That Salvor's was the necessary death. Not Harry's. Not Brother Day's that were threatening. But Salvor's. And I think Salvor is dead. So what that starts to unravel is the whole driving force behind Gaal is that vision of 152 years. The mule fights the Mentalics. They fight and she sees Salvor dead. So that vision was created by Tellum and put into Gaal's head. Now, we don't know if it's one that was already there and altered to see Salvor, if the whole thing was made up. So there's a lot of moving parts in that story that are confusing, and it's hard to know because they haven't given us yet a way to know where the illusions are. Like, there's no ripple of the screen or anything. Or if there is one that I missed, let me know in the comments. So this is really starting to roll now. Again, I love this show. I think everybody's doing a great job. And now we have the coup beginning between Sereth and Dawn against Brother Day. I don't know that Brother Dusk and the Enjoiner are done with their plotting. We have Hobor Mallow let the Swarm know that they have ships that don't need spacers to navigate. So now Empire knows there is technology so that the spacers aren't needed anymore, which is what Hobor warned them about. When the Empire finds out they don't need you anymore, they're not going to just free you. They're just going to stop giving you the thing you need. And then as a problem, you'll just go away. So what do you think's next? What's going to happen next? Not those of you that have read the books, but like, what's your gut feeling with the show? Where are we going? I like this one. I'm looking forward to liking the next one. What do you think of this show so far? What are you thinking of the death of Salvor? Do you think she's dead? Do you think that was Gaal standing there watching her daughter be killed? It would be odd, wouldn't it? Seemed out of character, but we don't know what other visions they've been putting in Gaal's head. So that's it for this time. I'm Sean. This is Sean's Take. Let me know in the comments what other shows you're watching, and I'll see you next time.